She was ordained at Harmony Grove and has been serving the Grove as minister for over 25 years. She is also an intuitive counselor and spiritual psychic, which many of you already know. Through her gift of clairvoyance, she empowers her clients to integrate their spiritual purpose and live a fuller, more meaningful life. Having overcome life-threatening illness more than once, her mission is to teach, heal, and inspire others to heal themselves by connecting to the power of spirit within. Past life regression and soul retrieval are other specialties with which she serves her clients. With her beloved husband Gary, Uki resides in San Diego's North County, and together they offer popular monthly meditation and angel message events. In her own words, "My life is my ministry, and nothing that ever happened to me was by mistake. I can see the hand of God in the many twists and turns that my life has taken, and I am so blessed to walk the path of service and passion as I do the work that I love." So please help me welcome Reverend Uki MacIsaac.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good to see all your smiley faces. So would you agree with me that we live in a culture of instant gratification?
Yes.
Isn't that true?
Yes.
Take this pill and lose 20 pounds in 3 weeks, right? 2 weeks. Join this guru and pay a few $1,000 and within 6 weeks you'll be enlightened. So that's what I want to talk about today. Spiritual shortcuts. Do they exist? If so, what does it look like? And we're also going to talk about a particular form of spiritual shortcuts that's called spiritual bypassing. Sort of a pet peeve of mine. So let's begin and dive right into it. So all those of us that are genuine spiritual seekers, we do want to progress in our journey. Yes, we do want to advance on the evolutionary journey of the soul. And most of us know that it takes time, it takes effort, persistence, continuity, sticking to it, even when the promised effects don't come in right away. And there are many paths we might take to achieve that. So some of us love to follow a guru. And you know, I have the greatest respect for the true gurus in the world that are usually very humble teachers. They don't really market themselves on the internet or promise great things. They are more like magnets that draw the true student to them. And you know, I just came in and saw in the back wall these pictures of those beautiful gurus of the lineage of Paramahansa Yogananda. So, you know, you probably all know who he is, right? Paramahansa Yogananda, Self-Realization Fellowship. So he was embedded in this lineage going back to Babaji and then, of course, ultimately to Krishna and Jesus. But this lineage aspect was very solid. Certain things were passed down from one to the other to the other. And nothing came really quickly and overnight. You know, when Paramahansa Yogananda was told that he needs to go to the West and introduce the West to the ancient teachings of India, I don't think he said, "Woohoo, I'm gonna go," you know, but he followed the calling and he established that well-known SRF, one of which is in Encinitas. We're so fortunate to have that right around the corner. But you know what? I have a friend who said to me recently, you know, I'm subscribed to this guru, and if I follow him for 1 year and do all his classes and requirements, I'll be enlightened. Yay! you know, and I just said, is that so? Well, let me know when you're there. And so there are no quick fixes. How do we really move forward? Well, I already mentioned it with commitment. Now, there are certain spiritual qualities that can maybe fasten up things a bit or make it faster. So, for example, unconditional kindness. Yes. So, you know, that good old movie, Pay It Forward, that really left such an imprint on us. The notion of gratitude. Every morning I try to express my gratitude to Creator. And it can be for little things. It can be for my cup of coffee or my purring cat on the bed. She always comes when I meditate, you know, so little things like that. But that attunes me for the day to gratitude. And I feel that's one of the best prayers there is. Thank you, God. You know, short and sweet. Now, mindfulness and meditation, of course, are a very important aspect of that. And it's so interesting, the whole notion of mindfulness has only, over the past 10 years or so, really become a focus, right? And in a way, it's tricky because people who say, oh, meditation, I don't know, that's Eastern stuff. Mindfulness, okay, that sounds more Western. I can ascribe to that, and they may learn that they can walk mindfully, eat mindfully. You know that old saying, chop wood, carry water, right? Do you know that old book? It's based on the saying that a master was asked, well, what did you do before enlightenment? I chopped wood and I carried water. Oh, great master. And what did you do after enlightenment? I chop wood and I carry water. You know, the ordinariness of our daily lives is how do I say, somebody who looks and behaves very enlightened may not be that, but a very ordinary person who does with great love and attention and awareness the daily chores may be more enlightened. Do you remember that old movie, was it The Spiritual Warrior? I think so. Or, you know, this kid wants to learn so bad from this master, or The Karate Kid, that's another example, right? Where the master tells him, oh, now your first lesson is to paint that fence, right? And the kid goes, what? Paint the fence? How am I supposed to get enlightened doing such trivial chores? You know, through clenched teeth, he does it anyway. And then later learns that that is a movement that he will need in his martial arts, you know? So lessons can come in so many ways. And, you know, to also, I want to tell you another little story. And this is about the topic of spiritual bypassing. So I was in a wheelchair when I attended a seminar, and I had just come out of, this is quite a while ago, I had just come out of a 3-month hospital stay, 3 weeks coma, and I was wheelchair bound, but I wanted to attend the seminar, and so, you know, I did what I had to do. Well, at the end of the seminar, somebody walked up to me and said, so what happened to you? And I said, well, you know, in a nutshell, listen, this is what happened to me. And he looked at me and said, have you forgiven yourself? And I go, yeah, my jaw literally dropped. Forgiven myself for what? And he said, well, you created this. And you know what? There is, of course, a seed of spiritual truth in that we are co-creators, co-creators with Great Spirit, all right? But in that moment, that was the wrong thing to say. I was furious. If I could, I would have slapped him. And that goes into the direction of the topic of spiritual bypassing. What does that mean? Let me give you a quick definition. The term was coined in the 80s, and it is the tendency to use spiritual ideas, practices, or beliefs as a way to avoid or bypass dealing with unresolved emotional issues, psychological wounds, or painful life realities. So it's a bit complicated, but in simple words, when we jump to the quick fix instead of being very present. And to give you an example, even, I'm stuttering a little bit because I got so many ideas going at the same time through my head here. But every now and then I'll see a person who maybe will talk about forgiveness. And she may tell me, well, she was abused heavily as a child by her stepfather, let's say. And then she says, but I've forgiven him. And I see her energy. And I get a knot in my throat right now. And I can read her energy field. And I said, no, honey, you haven't. You've gotten too quickly because you thought you had to forgive him. But you know what? You never really processed the hurt, the anger, the pain, and everything that came along with it. So moving too quickly into forgiveness when it's not genuine is a form of spiritual bypassing too. We got to be real people. We got to feel all the feelings, all the emotions. We have light and shadow. If we were totally perfect, we'd have wings and fly away. So we have to acknowledge not only the light, but the shadow as well. And processing of our emotions, of our grief, our sadness. We see so much happening in the world right now that can just break your heart. I try to be very discerning when it comes to news. I don't want to expose myself. And I know people that get glued to their TV when there is a natural disaster or catastrophe, and they almost feed on this energy, right? That's not helpful. So what can we do to help those, for example, affected by the hurricanes or by wars? Can we donate? Can we provide support in other forms? Taking action is sometimes so much more effective than just going, oh my God, oh, those poor people. Yes, compassion is important, but it's not a replacement for action. Another time I was sitting in a hospital waiting area, and it was time for to see my oncologist. And I was at that moment I was in tears. I thought, oh, what did I do to deserve this? I've had 3 cancers, people, so it's understandable that at one point you go, what the is happening here, and how did I possibly contribute to that? So I was in tears. And a person came in who was a counselor. I didn't know her really well, but she saw me there, sitting there, and she just sat down next to me, gave me a big hug, listened for a moment, and then she said, it's not your fault. Now, in other circumstances, that could have been a spiritual bypass, right? Oh, it's not your fault, just move on, Spirit knows what they're doing. That was not where I was in the moment. I needed her presence, her compassion, the hug. And these words, it's not your fault. In that moment, that was medicine for my soul. So let's be compassionate, let's be listeners. Let's not feel because we pray, we meditate, that we're better than others. Because that's another form of spiritual bypassing, that sense of superiority. And again, I think that was in that movie, The Spiritual Warrior, based on the book, to where this kid works on a gas station, and that's his guru is the tenant of the gas station. I don't know, do you recognize that movie? And so 2 cars pull up. The first car is beat up and people look like they may be gang members, and another car pulls up with white clad sort of ministers or followers, and the gas station owner serves that beat up car first, makes the others wait, although they were even a little bit earlier at the gas station. And he's kind to them. He offers a little time and advice. Well, in the meantime, all the white-clad people got really angry. What is this? We are made to wait here? Ha! So later the kid asks his master, why did you do that? And he said, they were only pretending to be enlightened. And these others needed my care, my attention much more than these seemingly enlightened ones. So there's even a funny story. I'm going to read you this. Once upon a time, there was a seeker who had heard the wise and famous guru said to be able to guide anyone to enlightenment. The seeker was impatient and wanted spiritual enlightenment as fast as possible. So he traveled far and wide to meet the guru, hoping to find a shortcut to eternal bliss. When he finally reached the guru, the seeker immediately asked, Master, I've traveled long and hard to find you. Please tell me, what is the quickest way to reach enlightenment? The guru, sensing the seeker's impatience and desire for an easy solution, paused for a moment and said, you're in luck. I have recently developed an instant enlightenment pill. It will give you immediate and total enlightenment the moment you swallow it. Excited, the seeker jumped up and down and said, finally, that's what I've been searching for. Please, master, give me the pill. The guru handed him a small, brightly colored pill, but, the guru added, there's one small condition. Before you can take the pill, you must spend 10 years meditating in a cave, practicing patience, self-awareness, and mindfulness. The seeker's face fell. But, master, I thought you said this pill gives instant enlightenment. The guru smiled and replied, it does. But first you need to become the kind of person who can swallow it. All right, so I guess there really are no shortcuts except by the grace of God. And that's something we cannot demand, command, fabricate, initialize. We can. Most of you probably know Eckhart Tolle, right? Mm-hmm. Of course, I like him, he's German, but and he has this strong German accent still. I believe you to enlightenment. No, I'm just kidding. So Eckhart Tolle, if you know the story, he was at a point in his life where he just said, God, I cannot do this anymore. I feel worthless, I have nothing to live for, I just don't want to be on the planet anymore. And in this moment of utter despair, when he was about ready to take his life, boom, something happened. And even he himself, although he's a great speaker, can't really put it in words. A moment of grace. He felt the grace of God descend upon him. And from that moment on, he was never the same person. It took him quite a while to integrate it all. He said that he slept on park benches for several months. He just couldn't function anymore, but he was so blissed out that people would approach him and wanting something of what this hobo on a park bench had. So, and there is also maybe some of you are aware of 12-step programs, and you know what I'm referring to. So they are usually for people with an addiction of any kind, be it alcohol, drugs, gambling, whatnot. So these 12 steps lay out a path of a spiritual recovery, because addiction is something that affects body, mind, and soul in all layers. So they work their way through the 12 steps, and part of it is spiritual house cleaning, making amends, establishing a connection to the higher power of their understanding. And you know, at the 12 steps says, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, ... So the spiritual awakening is sort of promised if you do all the work. But how and when exactly it will happen is, again, not up to us. We pave the way through our willingness, our desire to do the hard work, to do what it takes. And in this way, we make room for the divine to come in. And that can change a person's life totally. So there are shortcuts, but not in the way that, that our advertisers promise us. And if you have a guru, God bless you, may he be of integrity and guide you on your path. But beware of the quick ones, the quick fixes. And you know, there is something that to be said for doing the footwork, and I like that saying that sometimes in a nutshell puts it together. Clean house, serve God, and help others. In a nutshell, that's it, right? So I want to leave you with that thought. Clean house, serve God, and help others. Thank you.